Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from the sunshine state of Florida, having a cup of ginger tea. Just telling you, welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show. Um, Today, Thursday, very exciting. A lot of things are happening in the news. My co-host and co-hostess will be joining me shortly. We have big upset in Wyoming where Liz Cheney has lost her seat. Well, she has lost um, her primary race in Wyoming to a Trump-backed supporter out there. We have upcoming primaries in New York for Congress and for state senate, right? So we have that coming up on Tuesday. Early election happening now. We have the unfortunate death of Anne Hecht, who's also an organ donor. To think about whether or not we, as Black people, most of us who watch the show are Black or individuals, but primarily Black Caribbean. We want to know: would you be an organ donor? You know, would you not want to be part of that living of the legacy, right? The gas prices, and gas prices, different places, gas gouging is against the law. Credit prices versus cash prices, and why you're paying whatever you're paying, right? The shortage of teachers happening in and around our community and our nation, and also Texas again in the news about what what books they want to get rid of um, out of out of the system, right? So you have all of those things and more. So welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show, where it's all about the community, empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, any point, starting from today. Where success is not just spoken, it is done. What are you doing to be successful? Now,
Ignoring you is what I'm being doing to be successful.
well,
Hello, brother.
what I'm doing to be successful is going on vacation with the family, and enjoying vacation, having a cup of ginger tea, and talking about financial literacy. Uh, John, um, Joanne, turn the little more of the camera over to John and pull down your mic a little bit, and you move over a little bit as well, and down. Perfect. Right. So welcome everyone. Hey, Dr. Brian. Hey, John. How you doing? John
I'm
Mason.
doing.
That is
I'm doing okay.
right. And thank you
Doing
all the
so much
village.
better that you're not here in the studios to
Yeah,
hog up
yeah.
all the time. I'm doing so
You're
much.
much better. You're much better next to somebody who looks far better than me. Right.
Amen and amen.
Right. So it's very exciting. So hey, Doc, I see you being an executive producer over there, working the producers type stuff. I see you got ahead, girl. You do you. So John, while she's trying to fix that, tell us about your week. How'd that go?
Very productive week. Just staying up on current events, getting ready for the congressional and state senate races next week, the 23rd. But I think most of all, just catching up on some current events and what's going on in D.C. Congratulations to the Democrats for passing an important piece of legislation that deals with climate change and also dealing with the healthcare component. So I think it was pretty productive on that end. Also, you know, just gas, gas continually on the decline. I looked at a receipt.
Did you go by our favorite spot, John?
Yeah, I went back by a favorite spot, but I got another favorite spot on Linden Boulevard and Rockaway Avenue. The gas is a couple of cents cheaper, like 5 cents, man. So when you're filling up your
Listen,
car, you're putting
John,
22
John,
gallons in times 5 cents, you're saving a couple of dollars there.
yeah, 5 cents is a
Eh,
lot of money. Don't sleep
Everything
on 5 cents,
counts.
right? Don't sleep
Every
on
little
five
bit
cents.
counts.
A lot. But you know
But
what I saw though, John, on
what?
Rockaway Parkway and Seaview Avenue,
Right.
right? Across the street at a mobile gas station, the price is respectable, right? It's about what we see around the city. I mean,
Right.
not around the city, around Brooklyn, like inner Brooklyn, right?
Right.
If you go across the street at Shell, right, literally right across the street, right? The gas price is $1 more. What's going on with that?
I guess it's called rent.
Price gouging. Uh-huh.
How can you? I don't know how can they price gouge and you got a competitor across the street that's charging almost $1 less.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
don't make no sense
I
to me.
think their cost may be a lot more expensive, but that's
Across the
not
street,
proud that I can just go across the street and get gas for $1 less. So I don't know. That's you always try to be competitive. That's not being competitive at all. That's like you will lose customers with respect to that.
But you're not supposed to be a whole dollar ahead. A couple of
like,
cents, yes.
Doc,
But
you're
it's
too far
worth.
from the mic.
Okay. Better?
Yeah.
Trying to make sure I don't block John's face. All right. Perfect.
If you turn your chair, Doc, a little bit to your right, I think it's yeah. And then yeah, that's perfect. And then John can just move over a little bit to his right as well. You're good. Anyway, you were saying
Um, you're not supposed to have. I know that the attorney general mentioned that if you notice anything in regards to the prices being significantly different, we're supposed to report that. They made a whole big thing, legislation about that. So I don't know, $1 across the street, and cents I could understand, but a whole dollar, come on.
I think yeah, but you have two competing gas stations across the street. Are you actually uh, price gouging because your competitor is $1 less? I think that's a foolish business decision because of course if I can go just literally across the street and get $1 less, pay $1 less, I'm going across the street. So eventually it's like downtown Brooklyn, right at the base of the Manhattan Bridge, you have a mobile gas station that is still charging almost $5 a gallon for regular. And people actually stop down there and buy gas. However, I think those who do that are tourists or something like that because you can just go. But remember, there's very limited gas stations downtown Brooklyn, so maybe that's why. That's what I would say. They would be price gouging because in order for the closest gas station maybe a mile away downtown Brooklyn. So those are the things that I think they would be more susceptible to price gouging than a a gas station that is directly across from another gas station that charges $1 less. But I'm just glad the gas is just coming down. Period! Exclamation point.
I agree with you. I have a loaner, John, because my car is in the shop, and I spent under $80 for the first time in a long time.
That's a big difference.
So
That's a
believe
couple of
me,
baseballs that you can buy, for the kids.
yeah. Listen, I could buy a whole pack of baseballs right now because
That's
that's
right.
like a $60, almost a $60 difference in price.
So, Dr. Brian, how was your week?
My week was good, no complaint. You figure it would be more peaceful, but you're busier when it's coming to the end of the month. That's all.
What do you mean
Uh,
by peaceful? Why? School's over.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you just have a couple more weeks before school starts up.
Exactly 2 weeks.
But I know some charter schools have started up already, right?
Yeah, Florida started last week. A couple of charter schools in Pennsylvania started this week, and what else? Some New Yorkers started as well.
so
So
like you said, private and charter started already.
yeah, God bless them, but they finish early too.
Yeah.
So
It's a good question, Dr. Brian.
what is that? What's a good question?
Do you prefer to start early and end early, or do you like the New York City system?
No. I think I like ending early because I'll catch the sales to travel. When everyone is going out at the same time, you're dealing with a different price for traveling. So they know, hey, July is about to hit. When you have 2 days before July, you're getting off. You're going to pay that summer rate. So my thing is, why not end early and celebrate early? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts? What's your thoughts?
I
Am I
think that
cutting into? Am I cutting into? Am I shortening the educational days
No.
of the students? That's my concern. As long, I mean, whether we catch it on the back end or the front end, as long as they are getting the required academic days that are needed, I have no problem with respect to that.
I like mid June, the second week of June, to
Yes,
about the
you.
second or third week of August. But I also like for see in New York City, I would love to see the consolidation of certain holidays and increase like make the November break 1 week, make the Christmas break stop making make the Christmas break a full 2 weeks, right? Instead of letting the kids off the day before Christmas Eve, and the day after New Year's they go right back.
So let me ask you a question then, my educators. Would you then advocate for a longer school day?
No.
Yes, I would. I would.
No.
Um, I would advocate strongly, advocate, and I've done it right because I've proven through research where the longer school day is more effective for our students and they learn more and learn different things,
Mm.
right? So those days are vital. The question becomes, what is the what is that's my son, the baseball the king, right? Right. The question becomes, what is the time frame? Okay, and I know in New York City the union is going to push back, right?
Okay.
But you can add more to the curriculum, right? Even a longer class period, you add more to the curriculum. Where I went to high school, our high school was at the time ranked number 13 on the East Coast,
Hmm.
and your
What
class
high school
time,
is that?
Amherst Regional in Massachusetts, right out of UMass.
That's one of those ABC schools, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly where I went, right? And as
Private
a public
schools,
school,
right?
public, it was public,
Okay.
right? And what happened with that is we had everybody had 8 classes per 8 classes, right? And they did a rotation of class. So every class was like an hour, except for one class that met for lunch. So that period, you had it was divided up into 30-minute sections. Okay, and then some students would go to lunch the first 30 minutes, second 30 minutes, or the third 30 minutes, and then you go back to the class. If you understand, like the division, right? But in the classes, you're able to do more with 8. You just learn more. So I was able to take. So for me, when I was in high school, I took Spanish, I took
Hmm.
French,
Hmm.
I took constitutional law,
That's
I
high
took
school. Let's think about
no,
elementary kids, younger kids. Do you
no.
think that they
It
can
still
relate
doesn't. It
as
still doesn't matter.
it does?
What
It does.
no,
Because
it
what's
doesn't.
yes, it
First
does.
and foremost, I have a number of parents who are complaining,
Hmm.
right, that school is too short.
Really.
Because now, especially,
I wonder if they were saying that during
no,
COVID
they were
time.
saying the same. No, the school
No,
is too.
they,
No,
mm-mm. I doubt very much they were
no,
saying the same
school
thing during.
is too
Okay.
short.
So you're thinking more like Texas. What Texas recently did, they combined their classes, longer days from like 7:30, 7:15 to like 4 something because they're giving Fridays day off. Since
I
they
like that. I
do
like that.
not have enough teachers to actually teach the students, they're proposing as a way to get more educators to come to Texas to give it a 4-day week instead of a 5-day week. So, are you proposing that that children are in school from like 7 something or 8 something up until what time? 5 o'clock?
4:30. 4:30.
What?
Between 4 and 4:30.
What age group are you referring to?
Oh, remember something. Remember something very, very important, right? And I see some people commenting on the side.
Yes, good evening. Good
But
evening, Mr.
if
James.
you,
Good evening, Simone.
if,
Good evening, Jace John. I'm sorry. And Simone, thank you for joining us, everyone.
yes, you could pull up some of their comments, right? At the end of the day, Simone's comment that I'm looking at right here, charter schools charter school has longer school hours, and still, so think about it. The public school system,
Hmm.
they're losing kids, they're losing students, and they're losing them to charter school. Why? Because charter school, at the end of the day, they're offering more,
Really?
right? So the hindrance to public school,
Hmm.
right, are the teachers who want shorter school days. In charter school, they want the parents want longer school days, so they're sending them. They don't have after school program. They don't have multiple programs. Your kid, yes, they have to learn the four majors, right? ELA, math, science, and social studies, right? They have to learn those. What about music? What about arts? What about shop? Right? Okay.
Those vocational classes need to be brought back into the system.
Exactly.
Sure, definitely.
Right. After school enrichment programs.
Hmm.
Okay. You look at it, especially the early age. How many people you know, right? How many people you know personally
Hmm.
who have children who go to school? Is school hours were set up for back in the 50s, 40s, and 60s when mothers used to be home and fathers go to work. Right now, you don't have that anymore. Now you have both members are going to work, and you also have a lot of single mothers out there. So
Welcome,
then,
Big Mo. Welcome, Mo.
right?
Welcome, Big Mo, to the show, Big Mo.
So James says, does the increasing time in school matter if they still don't have the resources and not really learning anything more?
I think what I'm advocating for, James, is the more, right? Because
But
money alone doesn't do it. Okay, money
I
alone
agree.
doesn't,
Money alone doesn't do it.
right? So it's what are you offering? Are you offering, like, if teachers, teachers who want to stay longer, they stay longer. If not, right, then you could have a staggered system of education. So if the
so
kids are in school
longer days, but 4 days, or longer days, 5 days.
5 days, 5 days,
Mm.
right? 5 days. You need to offer what the students want. And a lot of students are not in tune with school because you're not offering them what they want,
Mhm.
right?
So you
And so who are
okay?
the biggest dropouts of school? Black kids. They're
Who
number
are
one.
mhm. Who are sometimes bored
They're
with,
bored
hmm
because you're not offering them
but you
activities
want
that
them
they
to
want.
stay in the school building longer when they're bored.
I would say I don't think advocating staying in just increase the opportunities. Longer school districts maybe participate in shops. You got after schools.
Exactly.
I like the concept of a 4 day school week,
Hmm.
having Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays off. Fridays, if you want to concentrate more on maybe elective classes, maybe shop classes, you know,
I like that
things
idea.
like that to just switch it up a little bit. I wouldn't mind,
Leave the school
going to
open
school
at 8 as well.
7:15, getting out 4:30. Get the normal breaks during that, and it's productivity, the
Seven
production.
fifteen, you're saying?
Yeah, 7:15 in the morning.
I mean,
7:15 in the morning.
don't get me wrong.
And it's like we can stay. It doesn't necessarily mean that elementary schools, elementary. You got middle schools and high schools. I think high schoolers can deal with a schedule such as that.
Right.
I believe that they can. But when we're dealing with elementary kids at some point in time, it can be staggered. We can have staggered, but still give them the opportunity.
That I agree with you. You're
I would
staggering.
I would say instead of a 2 hour 6 hour 20-minute school day, we look to a 7 hour to a 7 hour 10-minute school day.
There's a lot of comments. Let me read some of them. I'm sorry. I don't want people to feel as though we're ignoring it. We are paying attention. Discipline, value, structure, and culture needs to be
Put it
revamped.
up on the screen. Put it up on the screen.
Uh, okay. I really don't know how to do that. All right. Thank you. The next one is I would think improving how the children are taught and what they are learning needs more with the time. Otherwise, it's a band day.
Oh, do me a favor. Press number. Make sure number 7 is
All right.
7 is on.
all right. Press the speaker and answer.
Answer.
Speaker, speaker. Is this it?
Caller, you're on. You're live, caller. Caller, you're live.
Did you turn up the volume on 7?
Yep, it's on. It's on.
Caller, you're live. Okay, caller.
All right.
Call back, caller. Thanks.
Pick it up. Hang up. All right.
So, education is such a key component. Hold on, caller. Caller, you're live to the village. Hello?
Joe, pick it up and see if you hear the person.
Hello? Nope. All right.
Oh, you know what? Pick up the phone. What is it to on phone? What's on phone?
Okay, let's try again. Hello? Hello? Hi, hold on.
All right. We want to make sure we get to the next topic before our guest comes on.
She's on. Let's see how
Is 7 green?
No.
Hello.
There you
Yes,
go.
caller, live. How are you, caller?
Yes, hi. Are you hearing me?
Yes. And who is this?
This is Simone.
This is
Simone, we missed you. We haven't
Simone.
seen you in a while. We haven't heard from
Simone,
you.
how are you?
I think maybe
How are you, Simone?
Are you hearing me?
We're trying to cut you off, Simone. I'm sorry.
I
How are you,
know,
Simone?
I see that.
Yeah, Simone.
I'm great,
I'm just
thank
getting
you.
you
But let
back
me
for
get
the
to the
comments you
point.
made a couple of months ago. How are you, Simone?
Let me get to the point real quick. Listen, what Roderick is saying, there's so much more to it than what he's saying, because even if you have longer hours and you're not getting the kids to school, it's still not going to make a difference.
I agree.
Are you hearing me?
Yes,
we hear
we're
you.
here.
Why do
I'm
you
sorry,
say,
I'm in some noise.
why do you
The
say it's
kids
not
are,
going to make a difference?
The mic, Joe.
It's
We can't
not,
hear.
longer days is not going to make a difference, because first we have to get our kids in the schools. Our black and brown children are not going to schools. So having longer hours, it's still not going to make a difference. Nobody's going to invest in giving people more
But
money when they're not seeing a
I agree, but you can't continue throwing money. But I think we need to change the curriculum. There's a lot of kids who
Even if you change the curriculum, I'm telling you, if I'm going to talk to Roderick one-on-one, because I want him to meet with my superintendent. But when you have kids, when you have schools, and kids don't want to go to school because of turf war and because of this and because of that, it's a lot more to it than being said. And Roderick will talk about this off the
I
air.
agree. I agree. There is a lot more to it. However, it comes to the point where it's these turf wars that they have, and the insignificance of their turf wars when they actually look at it. And why are they these turf wars? Why do you think?
All right, I'm gonna give you a quick example. You have 3 schools that's bordering 3 projects, right? The kids from one side is not going over to the other side because there's a war going on, right? Even though it's not broadcast, there's a war going on. When you ask one little kid in elementary school what you want to be, you know what the child says? He wants to be a hitman, a professional hitman. You know why he wants to be that? Because he said that kid over there, brother, killed his brother, and he's going to come back to kill that kid.
It's a deeper issue.
It's more deeper.
It's a lot of
than giving them
it's a
longer
lot of deeper
hours
issues,
and
but
curriculum.
I think that's something that that's a topic for a show that we need to have on something like that. I think that's a very
Yep.
interesting.
Unpacking the traumas that these kids
Definitely
are
have.
So
Yeah.
we'll definitely bring somebody on to address that. So we do thank you for your call and your
You're welcome.
feedback.
Have a good one.
Have a good one too,
Take care.
Simone.
You know, yeah, before I think Simone brought up some. That's a very good point, right? That
But
that we need to address because sometimes we can't even get the kids to go to school, but we have to move on to our next topic real quick because our guest is here.
Our
Um,
next topic is what is our next topic? Oh, we're dealing with
your
the
favorite stuff, John?
FBI, the overreaching of the FBI in raiding Mar-a-Lago.
Is it overreach though, John? I don't know if
I
it's overreach.
believe, you know what? I want to see the affidavit by the agent because a lot of times these agents embellish the situation to create it to a certain point that the judge will grant the issuance of these warrants to obtain certain information. They basically glorify a criminal act that they perceive to happen, but they don't know actually. What they want to do is a fishing expedition. So, put it this way: the feds never go after you for they never. Most of the times when they look, they get other ammunitions during the course of a raid
let's bring on our
that they use.
guest.
Oh, let's bring on our guest.
Yes, let's find out more.
Let's find out more.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right.
Mr. Lustyik, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Oh, Bob, it's always good to see you.
Same here. Thanks for the introduction of making everyone hate me before I open my mouth.
As, Robert, as we should.
Before
Welcome
we
to
get,
the
before we
welcome
get started, I just want to thank you guys. I was listening to the last topic, and for me personally, and John can verify this from our conversations. I feel that the curriculum in the inner city schools doesn't teach anything relevant to what these children are going through in their daily lives. And until that changes, we're always going to have a lower number of students attending class because, to sit in a classroom and learn about topics that have no relevance to your life outside the building, it's tough to sit there. So, I want to thank you guys for bringing up these kind of topics because if we don't talk about it, we're never going to have change. So thanks.
that is a
The connection.
more than valid point, and I think that's
So, Bob, could you just take a
also
moment and introduce yourself
That's so important.
to our villagers?
Yes.
Sure. My name is Bob Lustyik. I'm a retired special agent with the FBI. I worked 24 years in counterintelligence, and I never really worked any criminal matters. I was always in the spy game. So, John and I have known each other for quite some time. We've always chit-chatted about things, and I'm happy to be on and shed whatever light I can on the topics that are going on today.
And Bob, go ahead, Roger.
No, and I'm just saying, John. I mean, Bob. I'm just glad, and I also thank John, as well to have you on because this is very relevant in America and what's going on with Donald Trump, because there are a lot of Republicans, right, who don't want to see him back at that level, and there's a whole lot more Democrats who don't want to see him at that level and trying to do a lot of things to make sure that he doesn't have the opportunity to run again. So I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak and let our listener, our audience know some of those things out there that's happening that we really need to know. So thank you for that.
Sure, great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. We're excited.
So, what are your thoughts on that, Bob? Give us your point of view. Basically, since you know the agency, you work for the feds, you work for the Department of Defense, and the ways in which they go about. Basically, sometimes I always believe, and we belong to that selective fraternity, having battled with the feds, and on the losing end, but we stuck to the point where we still believe our innocence, and we believe that there is continuing overreaching by them in the way they go about investigating, indicting, and basically putting people away.
Well, I mean, what you say is absolutely true, and what John references is, of course, I was arrested in 2012, and I did 9 years in federal prison after my retirement. Um, I was arrested by the Office of Inspector General, which is a different government agency, and actually, classification issues became a big part of my case, and it worked against me, but I'll get into that when we talk about Mr. Trump. First and foremost, when we discuss this, I'm just going to lay out what I know, facts. I'm not going to make it a political issue. Um, but of course, it is going to lean one way only because the facts lean one way. Um, what we have going on today is we have a judge who's looking at an affidavit that's people are asking to have it publicized. And as a former agent who worked counterintelligence, that would be my biggest nightmare. Um, I don't believe it should ever be publicized. I personally don't believe that the public has a need to know issues that involve national security. What what I try to explain to people is in the spy game, in national security matters, you have a three-level chessboard. The first chessboard on top is what the general public sees, and they see the pieces moving around. The second board is what people that might be highly educated, educators, uh, professors, lawyers, people of that nature, and those pieces are moving around, and they see the behind the scenes stuff. Well, the third board, all the way at the bottom, is where I lived, and that's where we played our game. And our goal was to make the two boards above us think they knew what was going on, when the reality is we're playing the real game, and we don't want anybody to know how those pieces are moving. So that's a national security case. That's how things work. With what's going on now, it all involves classification of materials. And you have those three types that they talk about on TV. You have top secret, and that would be information that if it got out, it would cause exceptionally grave danger. So when they classify something top secret, it's not done lightly. The information is going to be something that could cause serious, grave danger to the United States or to national security. Secret information would be what they consider serious harm or serious damage, which is still, it's a big deal, but it doesn't reach the threshold of top secret. And then you have confidential, which is kind of like a catch-all, and that basically deals with like potential for damage to national security. So when you see these people on all these news stations and they're talking about this, and they like to throw out top secret, top secret, top secret, they don't really understand what they're actually like talking about or how it got there or what it means. Um, in order to have clearance for top secret information, you have to pass a real extensive background check. And you have to pass that background check every 5 years. And they go into every single thing that you can imagine. Because with the top secret classification, you'll see it on the news. They keep saying SCI, top secret SCI, sensitive compartmented information. And we all act like, oh yeah, I know what that means. But do you really know what that means? Anybody?
No, we're learning now.
In our world, in my world, it means sensitive source information or sensitive human intelligence, meaning a high level, confidential informant that we can never let anybody know the identity because it would cause not only harm to the individual, but also to national security. So that's what SCI is. And they throw it around on TV, because they like to have the acronyms, but they don't really know what's on that third chessboard, what it means. And what it means is that there's been agents who have developed a source or a technique that's so sensitive that the technique or source itself is more important than the issue that's upon us regarding the information, if that makes sense.
So I have a question. Since he left office since last year,
Can,
why?
can we?
Okay.
Yeah,
Since he left office last year, why is it so priority, like top priority, to get back the records now? Why now? And not
Okay, so, and that's a great question. Let me just, I'll expand a little on what I was saying, and it'll actually lead right into that. So when you have top secret information, a lot of times it's classified ORCON, which stands for originator controlled, meaning like if John tells me information and I want to tell you, I have to ask John first if I can tell you. And if John says, heck no, then I can't. So that's what ORCON means. And top secret information is almost always ORCON. So when you talk about a president and they talk about the magic wand, because he can declassify information whenever he wants, that comes from the Atomic Energy Act, from I think it's the late 90s. And it does give the president declassification powers, but there's a long, arduous process. You have to have ORCON concurrence, meaning John has to say, okay, Bob, you can tell them. Then you have to have the proper declassification markings on every document. And then it has to be properly couriered. So you can't just take top secret documents and walk away with them. There's only certain FBI agents, CIA officers, NSA, DOD, NCIS, whatever acronym we want to use. There's only certain couriers that have enough clearance to double wrap and carry a top secret document out of a skiff. Now, do we all know what a skiff is?
No.
A skiff is a
We're
sensitive.
learning as you speak.
Excuse me?
We're learning as you speak.
Okay, I'm sure John knows all this. So, John, I apologize. It's a sensitive compartmented information facility. It's basically a room that's like impenetrable. Like you cannot, there's no windows. The walls are sometimes lead. Sometimes it's a Faraday cage.
It's like the shoe.
It's like the shoe. It's like the shoe. You can't bring in a phone. You can't make any copies. You have to sign in when you go in. Any top secret document you want to look at has a cover sheet. You have to sign that you're going to look at it. You have to write how long you looked at it. And then when you leave the skiff, you have to write how long you were actually in that room. So the idea of Donald Trump or whoever it was is leaving office and they're just shuffling stuff into a box and he's going is ludicrous to me, and probably every agent that was involved in the search, and I think they use that shuffling of paper quickly into a box because they needed an excuse. And they know that the general public has no knowledge of the actual process of how kid gloves are used to carry these documents, to utilize these documents, and what they mean. I mean, we're talking grave danger. Some of the stuff that I worked with I would look at, and the next person that would look at it would be the President of the United States. And it was stuff that was earth shattering and world changing. And I'm not saying that to, brag about my success. I'm saying that, it's a common occurrence in the counterintelligence world that you will get this information that is just so meaty, so worthwhile and so important that when you get that TS top secret stamp all over those pages, it means something. And it's not taken lightly. It doesn't float around a building or lay on a desk.
But you know what? A lot of his people were saying that they found top secret things all over the place. Some of
Right.
the people that worked with him. So
Right.
what was happening? Were they sliding back and not doing their due diligence as they were supposed to? And how come the person who is in charge of the FBI is the one who was actually appointed by Donald Trump? So what, where is the line blurred in regards to this?
Well, you see, the question is, why did the FBI go after this the way they did? That's one of the questions. And it'll lead to your question as well. As most people will know, in order to get a search warrant on a former president, you have to have some pretty substantial probable cause. Now, the warrant could also be what they call a retrieval warrant. And a retrieval warrant is used in a situation where the government knows there's something in that room that they have to get back. And they've asked to have it back, and the person has said no. So you go in with a retrieval warrant to get it. It's kind of like, hey, that's my ball. I'm taking it back. So in order to do a retrieval warrant or in order to do a search warrant like they did, you really have to have incredible probable cause that there's something in Mar-a-Lago that leads you to believe that a crime is occurring or has occurred. So let's talk about national security and counterintelligence cases.
Wait,
What happened in 2018 that people don't really talk about? In 2018, a Chinese woman entered Mar-a-Lago
Mm.
and was taken into custody, and she had spy equipment, she had micro dot equipment, she had communication equipment. I mean, she had like a modern day burglar kit for a spy. What else
Interesting.
happened? What was that?
I'm saying that's very interesting. We did not know that.
Yeah, and they don't want it publicized because the issue with Mar-a-Lago is it's like a resort. And Donald Trump likes people in his resort. There was another time when he had a high-level diplomat and they were talking about sensitive issues at a big table and they had documents and they let people photograph them.
I remember
And
that.
the photographs were clear enough where you could see the delineation on the document itself. You could see the classification on the document. And the carelessness of this meeting makes people in my former field, lose sleep. The idea that Mar-a-Lago was this place that it was secure and safe. In the world of spies, that place was a gold mine. If that was me and this was another country, I probably would have had every low-level employee that worked at Mar-a-Lago working for me. Because that's what we do. We get access to places by developing human intel, by developing people to help us with our task. It doesn't matter if Secret Service is there because Sometimes hostile intelligence agents are there. Sometimes the equivalent of Secret Service in another country is there. The goal is to penetrate, recruit, neutralize, and the last thing is arrest. In my world, if you make an arrest, the case didn't go the way you wanted. If I arrest a foreign spy, I really didn't do my job. The people think I did, but I actually failed because my job is to get him to work for me. So, Mar-a-Lago, what people don't understand is they look at it and they say, oh, that's an infringement of his rights. They overstepped with the search. No, because historically, the place is weak. It's a real problem security wise, national security wise. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Oh boy.
So but basically what you really saying, Bob, is that being that these documents, and like you said, there's levels to these documents. They could have been confidential. Then you say there's 3 levels. There's confidential. There's what's the other level?
You have top secret,
Top
secret, confidential.
Secret, and confidential. And these documents could have been confidential, but they wanted these documents back, or there could have been documentation that he declassified. But what you're saying is, being that Mar-a-Lago is open like that, there's a strong possibility that this information, like you said, I remember the Asian woman who made her way into Mar-a-Lago with all these devices. And what was her basis for doing that? Like you said, it could have been able to work the lower level staff, gain what information, because she knew they were sloppy in handling the information. And maybe this is why the feds went in, because of the openness and sloppiness that they believed that was going on at Mar-a-Lago.
I believe that's
take
that's
things out.
The question is, what type of document? Everybody says these are top secret documents. These could have been confidential documents, lower level documents, still important, but not to the scrutiny where it's top secret.
Are they supposed to leave the White House? These documents?
actually no.
Okay.
Actually, what happens is, and they'll always try to slam President Obama, because when he left the White House, he removed some documents that were pertinent, and he gave them to the NARA, the National Archive Records Administration, and that's the process. A president leaves office, he takes documents that are relevant for whatever reason, and they're held in skiffs or in a safe or in the proper classification room based on whatever the document is in the NARA. And there's NARAs all over the place. Matter of fact, there's one on Broome Street. They have one there where there's documents. And people can go in there. When you file a Freedom of Information Act, the NA is the organization that will handle it. And, it's public access. Like, you can go in and you can look at some stuff. There's like, they number like in categories 1 to 300. And you have like in the, like 105 is foreign counterintelligence information. 106 is atomic weaponry. In the 200s is foreign hostile intelligence services. So like you can go in there, and if it's declassified, you can look at stuff. Now, a lot of documents, they're declassified after 25 years, some after 10. But usually when it involves a sensitive source or human intelligence, it'll be 25 years. Then there's some that never get declassified. But, the fear, whatever source they have, John, whatever source they have, guys, the fear that source, that human intel, that individual struck into the FBI is what made them act the way they did on that warrant.
So that's why they want to keep that affidavit private then.
Right, because if
Because
that
at first they wanted to
affidavit-
let's review the scope of the subpoena, but now they don't want to open the affidavit.
Well, the judge says today that they can open some part of it.
But they're
Yeah,
going to redact it.
and the parts that they'll open up
Redacted part,
it'll
yes.
be meaningless. It'll be like AEIOU, or it'll be pronouns.
But Bob, but just getting into your case and your situation, how there was classified, top secret information that was exculpatory to you, and then the government fought to keep it top secret and not hand it over to you.
Right.
Let's go
So
into that.
they have what they call a CIPA hearing, a Confidential Information Procedural Act. So, and this will go into conspiracy theories a little bit when you hear this. But so it was a Thursday, and I had a CIPA hearing, and my defense was the offense that they said I committed, I've actually done 100 other times because it's part of my job. So if I can talk about cases that I had done that were similar, you'll see that I was only doing my job. Manipulation of a source is something that every counterintelligence agent has to do. So the judge asked the government, well, it looks like I'm going to let Mr. Lustyik talk about what he did. What will you do if that happens? And they said, oh, well, based on national security, we're going to drop the case. So on Thursday, I'm getting ready to go home. I'm all happy. The judge says, well, it looks like that's the way I'm going to rule, but on Monday, I'll give you my ruling. On Monday, we came in, judge walked in and said, basically, everything in your head is property of the United States government. You're not allowed to talk about it. Boom.
Oh, no.
When that happened, the assistant director of the FBI, the counterintelligence assistant director of the CIA, they both got up, they looked at me, and they said, good luck, Bob. And they walked out, and I knew I was done. I knew I was done right then. They basically, something happened during that weekend that changed that judge's mind. I'm not going to speculate. And, the information ended up being more important than my freedom, which is something that, I don't want to say I understand, but I've seen it happen numerous times.
So let me ask you a question, Bob. And this wasn't part of the interview process when we spoke to you, but I want to ask you a personal question. When you look at what's going on with Brittany Griner, when you look at what's going on with the Navy person there in Japan, the Russian person as well, not just Brittany Griner, but there's a man, I can't remember, the name is slipping me as we speak. You might,
Victor Boot?
yes. And the fact that they're trying to make these trade-offs, right, to set them free. To know that you were doing your job, right, as an FBI agent, and see the trees that they're willing to climb for these people outside who were not part of the system. How does it resonate with you? Knowing that it's basically they stiffed you, is what the expression is, right? They stiffed you and put you here. I know that we brought you in to talk about the Trump case a little bit, but you brought up some of the personal things. I just thought I should ask that question as well, knowing that I don't know. From hearing your story, I feel like you were stiffed, right?
Well, I mean, do I believe that? Yes. I think, first of all, just to say that the Brittany Griner situation is horrible. No American athlete should be held in an attempt to get back the world's largest arms dealer. And basically that's what this is. They're using, the public outcry. They're using this poor woman to be able to trade, for a man who has a lot of bodies. He was, he was probably the world's greatest arms dealer in the history of arms dealing. Why they feel, this is their trade they're going to do. I think it's because they look at America and how we glorify our athletes, and they see America now and they think, oh, look at all the women's rights that are coming out, which we all know is kind of ridiculous. It's really not changing that much. Matter of fact, going backwards. But over there, they say, oh, look, this is the perfect person for us to use. Pawn to pawn. Well, actually, it's more like bishop to pawn, because really, she is under contract with their own country.
Right.
Like, she's an athlete over there as well. So that just shows you that it's not about the drug. It's not about anything other than somebody like myself, some counterintelligence agent or intelligence agent said, hey, I got this great idea. Everybody loves Brittany Griner. Let's get Victor Boot back. And that's all this is. That's all this is. And, what's happening now is it's become other countries know how to manipulate the United States. And the way to do it is to throw stuff out in the media. If you throw it out in the media, everybody in America likes to think they're right. I mean, John and I could tell you about a guy that we were with who was right on every topic. Not going to say anything, but I had to make John laugh. But there's people out there like that, and they feel that if they throw it out in the media, there'll be enough arguments because people want to sound right. They want, oh, we're right. Oh, Republicans are all right. Democrats are all right. And really, you're all just pawns. You get manipulated by intel services. That's how it works. We're down on the third board. You're arguing up on the first board, maybe on the second board. But we're moving you around like it's nothing. And that's what's going on right now. So for me and my situation, looking at it outside of my personal situation, the information that I was going to provide in my case was deemed more important by the government than my freedom.
So,
and in a weird way, I understand that.
So the fact that you served 9 years, are you allowed to talk about these cases, or it's a done deal? You can't. If you were to talk about it, you're going to spend more time.
If I'm going to talk about it, I'm probably not going to be around.
As in, I got you. I hear it's going to die with you, literally. So I want to go back to the Trump case and ask a question. Why was the feds that served the warrant as opposed to the CIA, Homeland Security? Why was it the feds that were the ones serving the warrant?
Most likely because it was the FBI who developed the source.
Did it matter who served it?
The CIA wouldn't serve it. They wouldn't serve. The CIA would not serve the subpoena. The Fed, based upon the Department of Justice, the DOJ, is the one who has to go into court and get it issued. At that point in time, they work in conjunction with the FBI. You see, what Bob fails to tell you, that Bob was, I think he was recruited by the FBI. He was with the CIA, correct, Bob? Or you were, which one recruited you?
You trying to get him in trouble?
Okay. Okay. Well.
Anyway.
Well.
I'm gonna ask another question. Yeah, because I understand. Why did they take his passport?
They didn't take his passport. It was
gave it back.
They gave it, but it was gathered in. They just getting the information. They just
Whose
gathered.
passport are we talking about?
It was given right back to him.
Yeah.
Right, but here's an interesting point. If Donald Trump got on a private jet and flew anywhere, are they going to ask him for a passport?
Why
No.
wouldn't they?
They're not.
Why wouldn't they?
Because he's going to land at a private airport and his people will have already made contact with whatever country he's going to, and he'll be treated like a dignitary, not like somebody going through like an INS line. So this whole argument that he had about his passport is kind of ridiculous.
Well, manipulating once again the story. That's what it is.
Definitely. Oh yeah, no, that's definitely.
Well,
And-
he throws it out there.
But also, I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, sure. Fox News or whatever you want to say will manipulate it, but also the other stations, CNN and MSNBC, they'll manipulate it because they want to make someone look stupid. You know, like, oh, look how stupid he is whining about his passport. So both sides of the media, again, they're on the second level chessboard. Both sides of the media, you know, will try to manipulate it to their advantage. And that's what makes, you know, the trouble in our society is we have such a divide now, when the reality is it's the third chessboard that matters and you people don't even know about it.
So my question is, one of the attorney general, one of his people got charged today or pleaded guilty, and one of the attorneys who resigned stated that Donald Trump should have been held, been charged as well. Will they ever charge him with anything?
Who pled guilty?
His,
Somebody's accountant?
Yeah, his
Yes.
accountant.
That was his accountant, but they're going after the organization.
Instead of him, but will they ever charge him with anything?
Well, here's the situation, and try to look at it from the perspective of what will hurt our country. Is it worth arresting Donald Trump if it's going to hurt the institution of our presidency? Because how will other countries view us if the institution of our
Got
presidency...
Andre sitting up here in the studio putting his hands like I told y'all
Thank
guys.
you.
So.
I tell you all. I know.
But wait. Other countries had presidents who were arrested,
Reputation.
but you know what? Our reputation is trash already.
Well, can I
I
hear
agree.
what is Andre saying? Andre, let me hear what you're saying. What was the question?
Yeah, Andre.
No, I'm agreeing with him because all of this
Your mic,
really.
your mic,
and-
your mic.
Yeah, I'm talking through the mic. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lustyik, but I'm thinking that even if they end up getting close to arresting Trump, I don't think it necessarily is gonna happen. That I'm just thinking because of the reputation, even though Joanne says that, our reputation is trash, but it's like we're still saving him or still trying to save it. And despite all the economic issues that are happening, especially here in America, we are far away from, losing that power that we still have around the world. But I'm speculating based on evidence that I've seen. So,
But also, are they concerned that a civil war will actually, a great divide? Because a lot of people
Yeah.
are actually Trump lovers, that they're becoming extremists. Are they concerned about what's going to happen if they do charge him with anything?
this is first floor war.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Director Ray, who you mentioned in the beginning, was appointed by Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
His biggest concern now is domestic terrorism.
There you go.
Oklahoma City was something that agents my age lived through, and it was horrifying, and it's kind of forgotten. And look at what's going on now. People trying to get into an FBI office with a nail gun and a machine gun. People, you have people that say, "Oh yeah, we're blue liners. We're back to blue," and then a month later, they're giving out the name and addresses of FBI agents that did a search, which is their job. I mean, if they don't do that, it's not like they say, hey, who wants to go on a search? You know, there's a squad that's responsible for that issue, which tells you that there is an issue, because it's not just like a big office. It's like a squad that only works national security matters that deal with whether it's a specific country, a specific topic, and they're the ones that did the search. So, you know, it's right now there's so much chaos. You know, these people that will go to one rally and they'll say, oh, you know, down with BLM, you know, BLM is terrible. And then a month later, they're hitting police officers with an American flag. I mean, it's like we're in chaos. And, you know, intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies are pretty much terrified right now, because domestic terrorism, when it comes to extremists, and you have politicians that are spewing things that people can misconstrue, and then believe that they're being told divinely to go act on this. You know, it's a big problem. It's a big
So
problem.
more than likely, they're not going to charge them with anything because they're more afraid of the after effect. And
Well, you know, I don't want to say that, because I believe that,
what
you
they're
know,
showing is you could do whatever you want.
No. They were gonna
No.
look what happened to Nixon.
right, and
Look what happened to
that's
Nixon.
that's a great point, John. And my hope is that, you know, they went in with great probable cause. They kind of debunked the whole that the FBI planted it. I mean, that, just so you guys know, like, that's ridiculous, because the Secret Service was there and they were notified ahead of time. Maybe not the street agent, but definitely the supervisor. They filmed it. The Secret Service will film it. The FBI films it. And then Trump's own lawyer said that he was watching CCTV film of the search while he was in New York. So you have three different agencies, people, groups filming the search. Plus, the FBI is different now than when I was in. They switch things. Back in the day, you became a supervisor by working hard on the street and earning it after years of, you know, working great investigations. They switched that, and they made it where you can go the investigative track or you can go to the administrative track. So when I was, what led me to my retirement was I was a 24-year vet of counterintelligence operations, and I was working, like John kind of accidentally hinted, I was working with other agencies. Thanks for that, John. And
You're welcome, Bob.
so my boss had 2.5 years in. So think about a search and think about how scared that FBI manager was to have that search go on. There's no way that there would be an FBI supervisor out there in today's world that would have the gumption, which is a nice word, you know, the word I wanted to use, to actually let his agents plant something or to try to plant something. Because think about what we talked about in the beginning, how you get that document out of that skiff, out of that room. It's not like you can go into the skiff, shove the document under your shirt, and then say, come on, let's go to Mar-a-Lago. There's so many people involved in seeing that document leave that room that if it showed up in a box, during the search, it would be like, really? That's what you tried to pull? Like, that's what you did, Dan?
Mm.
Like, that's not going to work. And so the whole search thing is ridiculous.
Hey, Bob, man, I just want to take this time and just thank you not only for not only for being on the show, but also your friendship. And we definitely want you back. But there's one question that we want to ask you. One of our producers wants to ask you: have you ever heard of John Perkins? Okay.
All
All right.
Well, thank you for coming.
I won't.
on
I
the show.
won't. I won't elaborate on that. I
Oh,
see.
you don't have to.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
I don't know who John
listen,
Perkins is, but that's all right.
listen,
Yeah.
guys, thank you very much. This was it was a lot of fun, and again, you guys are doing a great job. And I'm sorry if I went too long.
No,
no,
no, no, no. We
thank
want you
you.
back, man, because there's other.
Here's the one question everybody should ask, though.
What's
The
that?
question is, why did Trump need these documents? Forget everything else. Just ask yourself the question, what the heck did he need them for when he was asked to give them back twice?
Why
What's
do
in
you
those
want that?
documents that he needed? That's the question I want to know.
Mm.
That's very interesting, Bob. You know that that's a very very good question, and we needed to ask you that. But I wanted we had a couple more questions out there to ask, but unfortunately we ran out of time. Just know that you can always catch us right back here on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and even look at your interview on the Village Radio Talk Show. When you get a chance, and as usual, take a look at it and see what's up there, because a lot of things out there that people need to know about what's going on, because they don't understand what's behind it, and the layer, how you laid it out, the layer concept is work great. So thank you so much for joining us on the
Thank you
Village.
for the education.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Bob.
you, guys.
All right,
Thank
Bobby.
you.
Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
All
Talk
right.
to you.
All right.
All right. That was good.
That was very interesting.
Yes,
That was very
the
interesting.
different layers.
It's John. It shows that they really did need to go after
Trump is
to
not
go after
gonna work with D. Lawrence. They can't do Trump anything. Who's D.
oh
Lawrence?
DeLawrence Obia.
Oh, okay. Our next guest is here.
Some of the similar topics. So let's bring on our senator.
Thank you for the great education. Hello and welcome to the village. Senator Parker, you're muted.
I knew that was just testing you. How's everybody doing?
All right, sir. All right, sir.
Hopefully you got an opportunity to listen to some of the previous interview
I
about
did.
about Donald Trump and why it was a need for the investigation. I learned a
Yeah.
lot actually from talking to the FBI agent and the different layers. So
Is he with the? Is he with the? I thought he was the ATF. Is he with the ATF?
No,
No,
no. Yeah, he was. Well, I'll tell you, Bob ain't on it. Bob was with
Okay.
the. He was with the. He was with the
FBI.
FBI.
Mhm.
He was recruited by the. No, he was with the CIA,
Okay.
and the FBI recruited him. He also
Okay.
worked for the Department of Defense.
Did he say?
All right. Yeah, I know. I used to be in the CIA too, right? Like I was Agent Orange.
I thought it was Agent White. I thought it was. Welcome to the village. Tell us who you are. Who don't know you.
Yep. So I'm State Senator Kevin Parker. I represent the 21st District in Brooklyn, which is part of Canarsie and part of Flatlands, but principally Flatbush and East Flatbush, Midwood, Ditmas Park, Windsor Terrace, and Park Slope, a little bit of Sunset Park. I am the majority whip in the New York State Senate, as well as the chairman of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee. And I'm running for a re-election, and there's an election for the New York State Senate on Tuesday, August 23rd.
But there's
Nice.
early voting going on now, so get out there and vote
Vote.
for Senator Parker.
Yes, vote early. Yes, so early voting. Early voting goes until Sunday, the 21st, and then the actual election day is the 23rd.
Right.
One
I
complaint.
thought you were going to say vote early and vote often. I thought that's what
I
you were
was-
gonna say.
We don't
going
say
to,
that. We
but-
don't say that. We don't say that.
The
Hey,
problem.
Carlene.
You're not in May. You're not in Chicago, huh?
I'm not in Chicago, right?
You're not daily. I got you.
Some people don't know where to go for early voting. That was a question that came up.
Yes,
Today.
if people don't know where to go, they can actually go to nycvotes.gov. That's nycvotes.gov to find a polling place, or you can visit my website at Kevin Parker, the number 4 Senate. That's Kevin Parker, number 4 Senate.
Um,
Dot com. Sorry.
so let's get right to the nitty gritty, right?
Let's get to it.
You're up. This is your 10th term, I believe.
Yes.
You're up, or this is your 11th. And I don't remember. You got elected
Something like that. It's been a lot of terms.
Huh?
It's been a lot of terms. It's been a lot of terms.
What makes this term different from the next one? If you were to get in.
Look, there's a lot of work that we have done, and I've done a lot of that work alongside your co-host, John Sampson, both as a colleague and as the leader of the Senate. I've been part of a small cohort that has ushered in 2 decades of Black leadership in the Senate. John, do you realize that the entire time that I've served in the Senate, I've had a Black leader? We went from David Paterson, who we made the minority leader and Democratic leader in 2003, and then went from him to Malcolm Smith to John Sampson to now Andrea Stewart Cousins, who's both the first African American and the first woman to ever lead a legislative conference in the Senate. When me and John served together, people used to talk about 2 men in the room. Sorry, 3 men in the room. Now 2 of the men are Black, and 2 of the other men are women, right? And so we really have had an opportunity to change
Evolution.
The complexion of what the legislature looks like, and that has a significant impact on the kind of outcomes that we've had. And so there's a lot of things coming out of a pandemic that has threatened both our lives and our livelihoods that we need to focus on. One of them is senior housing. Another one's economic opportunities. We really need to continue our work on police reform. And so I'm going back because there's a lot of unfinished work that needs to be done, and a lot of leadership that we need, particularly in our community.
So you've championed a few things that one is education. As a professor as well, you see the importance of education. We start off our show off tonight talking about education reform. Tell us a little bit more about why education is so important to you, and why do you feel like championing that cause, you would try to continue doing that as a senator?
So, when I first got elected, I used to represent Borough Park as well, right? So at that time, I represented more Orthodox Jews than any of the non-Jew in the state of New York, really in the country. And one of the things that you find, whether you're talking about the Jewish community or the Caribbean community or the Asian community or the Latino community, that everybody wants good quality education for their kids, right? It's a core value of every community. And so it really does seem one of the things that we need to pay attention to. It also is really important in terms of guaranteed economic outcomes. And so that's really important as well. And as somebody who went to public school myself, having gone to PS 193, Huddy Junior High School in Midwood, and then having been a professor at CUNY, Brooklyn College, Medgar Evers mostly, but I've taught at Kingsborough, I've taught at New York City Tech, I've taught at City College. You understand how much that you need to, bring education into the equation in order to equalize the balance sheet. I used to work years ago for Carl McCall, the state controller, first African-American elected statewide. And Carl was fond of saying that education was not just a key, but it was sledgehammer to knock down the door of opportunity. And I really fundamentally believe that. Once you have your education, there's nothing anybody can do to take away from you. And certainly those credentials become, even more important in our economic system as we go forward. And so, I really think that we need to continue to, properly fund education, add more music, art, athletics, and dance as regular parts of the curriculum, expand school-based athletics. And now that we have universal pre-K, we now have to have universal after school as part of our educational process as well. And that's going to be important, not just to educate our young people, but we also need to use our young people as access points into families.
But Senator, you also tell them how you were instrumental in making sure we got some of that CFE money.
Yeah, I mean, CFE is one of the things that we have been fighting for, for like 18 years, and we finally have now gotten it, and that's really money that had been owed to us. Yeah, billion. It probably has been upwards of $6 billion that we brought statewide into education. That was predicated on years lack of underfunding of Black and Latino schools, throughout the state of New York, or particularly in the city of New York. And so, making sure that we have a equitable formula around education has been a critical part of the work that I've been doing now.
So I want to continue a few questions. One, I have a question from an audience person, which is about, I want to ask you about MWBE, right?
Uh-huh.
He looks at, and the ability for him to get loans, right, in our Black community. Talk about the economic push that you want to do for especially Black owned businesses and enterprises in your area, in the city, and why that is important. I wanted to talk about it because you are my candidate, right? You are my person for Senate. You're the one who I'm going to tell everybody to vote for, but I want them to know why from that angle. Let's talk about the empowerment component.
So as we talk about coming out of this pandemic that has threatened both our lives and our livelihoods, and we've seen a rise in crime in our city, the way that we're going to get out of it is not by adding more police. And I'm not saying that the police don't have to do their jobs. And I believe in a police force that needs to serve and protect, but does so with dignity and respect. The reality is that we have to provide more economic opportunity. Crime in the city of New York is a tale of two cities, right? So you have a lot of the kind of mental health crime that has come from, institutions during the pandemic emptying their psych wards into the streets, right? And then the other part of it has been a lot of people who lack economic opportunity looking for ways to feed themselves, right? And a lot of that has happened through gang violence, right? And so what we have to do, we're going to have a safe city. We have to have an economically prosperous city. And we know that labor market discrimination hasn't gone away. And we know that Amazon, with all due respect, is not coming to save the day, right? And so we're going to have to, this is an SOS moment, which means we have to save ourselves. And so we have to create full-time jobs at a living wage with benefits through entrepreneurship. But one of the ways that those entrepreneurs are going to actually have enough money to create real sustainable jobs is through government contracting, right? So the state of New York has the third largest budget in the entire country. It's the federal government's budget, then the state of California, then the state of New York. This year's enacted budget on the state level was $223 billion, right? It's like lotto money. $223 billion. Like, it's a lot of money, right? And
you gotta
every
be in it
year, right? And every year, Roderick, $30 billion is contracted out. So everybody has to understand this. Everything that the state doesn't produce itself, it has to buy from an outside vendor, right? That we refer to as contracting or procurement, right? And when we look at all of that, everything from paper clips to large construction projects, that equals upwards of $30 billion, right? If you think about Ross Perot, a well-known billionaire, made his first $1 million in the state of New York processing Medicaid forms, right? And so what we want people to be involved is a law that I was able to do alongside of John in expanding up to 10% women minority business enterprises, right? That's MWBE. That's what it stands for. Women minority business enterprises. And it's really saying that if there are things out there that you're doing as an entrepreneur and the state is engaged in those things, then what we should be doing is giving you, as a woman business, as a women-owned business, as a Black-owned business, as a Caribbean-owned business, as a Latino-owned business, we should be giving you an opportunity to get a contract with the state for millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, to do that work. It could be providing, materials for a construction project. It could be staffing. It could be providing security guards. It could be providing internet services. It could be legal services, right? It could be financial services. It could be almost anything, because the state does is involved in so many myriad of things. And so I really have been, since I've been in the Senate, have been beating the drum and encouraging businesses to be involved in minority contracting with the state, as well as the city. Because in addition to the $30 billion that's contracted out on the state level, upwards of $20 billion is contracted on the city level. People don't realize this, but the city of New York, not the state has the third largest budget in the country, remember, after the United States, state of California, then the state of New York. The fourth largest budget in the entire country is the city of New York. So the city of New York has a budget that's larger than 48 states, including Texas and Florida, which have populations larger than the state of New York. And upwards of $100 billion is their budget, and over $20 billion is going to be contracted out. So you have an opportunity as a minority registered owned business in the state of New York to get a piece of $40 billion. Right? And so I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, but we really have to make sure we get access to capital and access to the technical assistance that we need, because Roderick, in our communities, we have people who know how to cook food, don't know how to run a restaurant, people who can build a table, don't know how to don't know how to sell furniture, right? And so we have to get them access to capital so that they can scale their businesses, but also the technical assistance so they know how to market, account, and get their marginal costs under control, so that they can make money for themselves and their community. This is critically important because we know that when we put Black women to business, in business, like Dr. Bryant, right? When we put them in business, what do? They hire other Black women, right? And so the more that we do that, the more that we're going to be able to take ourselves and make ourselves not just more financially prosperous, but also make our community safer.
Going back, so this run. Let's talk about this run. Is like very, very important, right? You have a candidate you have two candidates who are running against you. One of the conversations that, and thank you for the conversation around MWBE. I'm hoping a few people will be reaching out to your office to find out how do they get access to those funds, right? Because with
well, it's not funds, it's access to opportunity. Right, because what an MWBE program is an access to a contracting opportunity in which you make money for yourself by fulfilling a contract.
Right. So because what were you saying, Joanne? I didn't hear you.
They want to learn how to go about in getting access to the opportunity. That's what they could be reaching out for.
Like, I don't know if there's workshops or anything like that, because I know this because a person specifically is asking me that question, as a follow-up to reaching out, maybe even reaching out to your office for that. Let's talk about your work in the education of the village. Let's talk about that. What does that look like? And the two people running against you, one of them, well, neither of the two I've ever heard of. I guess they're seeking an opportunity to run now, which everybody's entitled to run. But I've not heard of them put any work into our community. But now they want to run for the state senate. I guess maybe because they look at you like, oh, he's vulnerable, he's this.
Rajic, I think they always come out the woodworks every time there is
election.
Not election. Every time there is redistricting, there's always people that just want to just come out the woodworks and they feel that they should run for office. But my growing concern about that is a lot of these people they've become so progressive and to the left that it's really impacting the public safety of our communities. And with that, not only does it affect the public safety, it impacts our economic development. It also has a way in which hurting our ability to educate our children. So we have to be wary. It's unfortunate. One thing I could say about the senator is he calls it as he sees it, moderate, and that's how it should be. We can't, this polarization of Democrats, Republicans. If you have a great idea and it's going to benefit my constituents, I'm going to support it.
Right. Yeah, and that John this well said. So I'm looking at your work in the village, right? So go back to what John is saying and talking about your work in the village to try to create that safe environment, that education piece. I know you do a lot of things locally. So let's talk about that. What are some of those things that that embodies Kevin Parker, right? What tell us about some of those things.
Yeah. So Rudy, I always say that the job as a state senator is two parts, right? There's the legislative part, and then there's the leadership part. The legislative part is what we do in Albany, and the leadership part is what we do here in the district. And so, the legislative session for the state of New York is about 6 months. It's from the first week in January to now about the first week in June. And between that time, I spent about 2 to 3 days a week in Albany passing laws. The legislative part is two parts. It's the budget and all the other legislation, right? And I talked a little bit about the budget. And then, there's other legislation, and we can talk about that later. But in the leadership part of my job, I have a full-time social worker, a licensed certified social worker in my office. I'm one of the few people in the entire legislature who has a licensed certified, and anybody who knows social workers and understand the relevance of having somebody who's both licensed and certified to be a social worker working in that office is a big deal. And so anything that you have an issue with, you can call my office with. Foreclosures, evictions, looking for a job, need a work out of your utility bill. I've had people come in who are, survivors of domestic violence and are looking for some place to stay. People who need help with medical insurance. No matter what your problem is, employment, no matter what it is, you can call my office and get some help with it. And so that's the base of what we do in the office. In addition to that, I have a director of community engagement, and we probably do somewhere in the order of 30 events a year. Many of them are partnered events with other organizations or other elected officials. In fact, on this Saturday, August 20th, I'm going to be doing my 15th annual Harvest Fest, which is my back to school event, where we're going to give out about 1,500 sets of school supplies. Right. And we've done that, like I said, for a number of years. We're going to do it at Padgett Park starting at noon on Saturday, August 20th. Right. And so it's work like that I think that is important. We've done now for about 12 or 13 years a prom dress event where we've given out, up to 300 prom dresses to young ladies who needed them. We've now also, over the last number of years, has started doing some things for young men as well, in terms of suits and shoes and that kind of thing. We've done events with elected officials and particularly with Citizenship Now and CUNY around the issue of immigration and helping people get status adjustments through Citizenship Now, where people come in and they come with their paperwork, and for no fee, we help them apply for green cards, visas, and for citizenship. And so we continue to do that work. We've done flu shots even before the pandemic. For a number of years, we did free flu shots for senior citizens in the office. We do a lot of workshops on home ownership with Neighborhood Housing Service of Brooklyn, right on Church Avenue, and so we do that at various churches. We do fall 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 prevention workshops at many of the senior centers to make sure our seniors are not getting hurt in their homes and making sure they're educated about how to keep themselves safe in their communities. During the pandemic, we did a number of programs with organizations giving out food, for people who are needy in the community. We did actually a couple of feedings for hospitals. We did one at Brookdale and we did one at Downstate, where we helped our first line folks who were, technicians and doctors and nurses at those institutions to make sure that they were being fed properly during the pandemic. And so, I can go on, but we do all types of events, employment. We've done job fairs, which have been very popular. We've helped tons of people get jobs. We've done health fairs and help people get screened for breast cancer. We've done screenings for prostate cancer for men, which is critical. And so, we'll continue to do that kind of work to make sure that people are getting access to the resources that they need in order to live, fulfilling and healthy lives.
But what also is important, listeners, is that the position that the senator has in the Senate, being a whip and just being that much more closer, he's at the table, and it's very important to be at the table. So if you want to go into that, Senator.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, talking about that legislative part of the job, I did talk about that I'm both the chairman of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee, where I oversee both the telecommunications and energy infrastructure and regulation around those industries in the state of New York, as well as, again, being the majority whip. And so as the whip, and I was John's whip, when he was the leader. And my job was to instill democratic discipline right? Actually, the full title, I have to remind people of this, John, because sometimes people are like, oh, I need you to whip something. I'm like, let me tell you my full title. I'm not the whip. I'm the leader's whip is actually what it's called, right? You're the leader's whip. You work for the leader, right? And so you whip the things that the leader directs you to whip. Um, and at that time, John, we just barely had 32 members, right? Like I used to have to take a count every night to make sure that we had enough people to have session the next day. And really it was an amazing time when we look at all the things that we were able to do to make the state better with only 32 votes, including reform Rockefeller drug laws, which were those disproportionate laws that gave people more time for things like marijuana than they did for cocaine, and more time for cocaine than they did for powder cocaine, right? And so we reformed those laws. We did no fault divorce during that time. We did domestic workers bill of rights at that time. We did a bunch of things took our first votes on gay marriage during that time. We did a lot of things that were really impactful, for the state. And part of my job in leadership is to kind of monitor votes and make sure that when we're doing things like protecting a woman's right to choose, or making our state safer for gun violence, that we have the votes that we need in order to bring those things to the floor and make sure that they're successful in passing.
Senator, again, this is all great, but tell the people about Kevin, right?
Uh-oh.
The Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin. And I'm a Pisces.
Not that
and
Kevin.
I'm like all the women of the world.
Not that Kevin.
I'm sorry.
not that Kevin. But the one that not the senator one, but the one that that's the personal one, like that let people know that, hey, I'm not just a state senator. I understand some of the issues that you're going through. But Stargirl just asked a question, and I know this is Joanne's favorite question. So let me see if I can bring up.
I gotta hear this because I can't even see it.
You can't see it? It said, let me bring it up on the screen.
She said, can you whip my $30,000 student loan?
But actually, that is a good question. What is are there anything?
Let me come back. Let me come back to that. So Rudy, let me answer both questions. So first, let me just tell people about me, right? I was actually born and raised in the Bushwick Projects, and my family bought a house in Flatbush in 1976, down the block from Brooklyn College, because my mother worked at Brooklyn College. And I had been I'm 55, so I was in that age where I was being bused to school. So I was being bused from Bushwick out to Midwood, to PS 193, to what's now the Gil Hodges School. It wasn't that at the time. And so I went to public school. I went to PS 193. I went to Huddy. I went to Midwood. When I grew up there, I was the second black family, like I said, on my block. And it was way before Flatbush became a Caribbean community. And I grew up in a family. I'm the youngest of 5. I grew up in a 2-family household. Really, in a family they were regular people. My father worked for transit. My mother worked at Brooklyn College as a administrator. And I don't know where I got this thing of being in politics. My mother used to tell me that when she used to pick me up from school, that I used to tell her I wanted to be president so I could change the way that black people live, because having grown up in the projects, and a lot of my family outside of us also lived in the projects. That's kind of what I saw. I only had one family member who owned a house. And then when, it was such a big deal when we moved out of Bushwick and moved into a house. It was like, the biggest thing anybody had ever seen. And I felt like I really wanted home ownership to be a big part of what needed to happen in black people's lives. I never understood the stuff at that moment about generational wealth and about how important it was. But I did understand how different it made me feel to grow up in a place where you can go outside and, play in the backyard, and just where you just had more space to breathe. And so in a lot of ways, I think my family and the way I grew up is like a lot of other folks, right? My mother was the first college graduate, but I was the first person to graduate directly from college, direct from high school, and go to college and finish. Um,
Hey,
um, having gone to Penn State, yep, we are, and so that was a big deal. I went and got a master's degree in urban policy and management. 'Cause I knew I was going to work in the government. And, I started off with very humble beginnings and kind of working my way up. I was in a program called the New York Urban Fellows Program, where I had a chance to work for Ruth Messenger, who at the time was the Manhattan Bar president, and I was a special assistant. And then when I was leaving that office, she had a friend who in Brooklyn was running for office for the first time. And she said I should go work for this woman who was a friend of hers and who she thought was going to become a big deal in politics. And that woman was Una Clark. And I wound up going to work for Una Clark on her first campaign. And I wound up being the first person Una ever hired. And then it kind of went on from there in terms of my activism and service, in the community. And so I think
so
that,
you're doing what it is that you said you wanted to do, which is
yeah,
education, but also teach people how to become homeowners. So
yes,
that has been the foundation of what you stand on: family, uh, legacy, um, empowerment, and building from there on
yes.
generational wealth.
No, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And right now, you know, we're in a real serious um, affordability gap, right? Like people are really having a hard time. Gas prices, utility prices. Gas prices have been coming down over the last 6 weeks, which is great. But people are having a really hard time, and that leads into that whole student loan problem. The price of higher education is way too high. And I know one of the things that we have been talking about and working on in the state legislature has been the idea of free college. There was a time in which CUNY was free, right? The city university, used to be free. And we really need to go back to that time and make it free again, to be honest with you. And CUNY and SUNY. Because it really is way too much, and it 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 forces many new college graduates into professions that they don't want to be in because they need to pay their student loans back and they can't afford to be teachers or social workers or artists or some of the things they really want to be. And so we really have to find a way to not just lower college college debt, but eliminate college debt. And that's one of the things that when I return, if I return to the Senate, representing the new 21st district, that I want to focus on.
Love that. Love that. I agree with that. Star Girl, I'm with you with that. He's gonna whip something up when he gets back into office. So I'm with that.
I think look. I think your
I
boy
see
Joe Biden, man. You got to give your boy Joe Biden some time. Like this is only year two, right? He done, he did the infrastructure bill. They did the Chips Act. They did the Inflation Reduction Bill. They on a roll. So I think student loan debt is coming up shortly. So just hold on tight. Keep pushing on it.
Taxes
So-
will increase.
Tell us about some of the people who have tagged on um, um, to your campaign. Right?
Yeah.
Some of those people have tagged on to it.
I have been very fortunate to get a lot of support from a lot of people in government who I have worked with alongside of, including Senator Kristen Gillibrand, the Attorney General Tish James, the State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli have all endorsed my campaign. And just yesterday, I was endorsed by the mayor of our great city, Eric Adams. And I'm very happy and proud of his endorsement and his support. Um, he's a good friend of me and John's. John knows him, and me and Eric sat next to each other on the floor of the Senate for 6 years, and somebody I've worked very closely with for a number of years. And so I'm very excited about that. but also have earned the endorsement of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and the endorsement of my good friend Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, again, who I've known for a very, very long time and I've worked very closely with. And as in addition to that, Planned Parenthood, at a time in which we are, discussing a woman's right to choose, and where they're trying to restrict that, Planned Parenthood has seen me as their choice to help, lead, continue to lead the fight on a woman's right to choose. I've been endorsed also by a number of labor unions, including 1199, DC 37, 32 BJ, the Transit Workers Union, Local 100, the Hotel Trades Workers Union.
So, what do people need to do in order to make sure that you are reelected? They need to, I think he froze. So,
Okay, we're back. RWDSU, which is retail, wholesale, and department store workers. Um, so I've been very fortunate to have a lot of support, and as well as Citizens Union made me their preferred candidate, and the League of Conservation Voters also endorsed my candidacy, and so we've gotten a lot of support, and looking forward to a big victory on Tuesday.
okay. So, listeners, go out and vote for our senator so that he is back in office working and doing the things that are necessary that he's been doing all along for the last 10, 10 years.
No,
Yeah, 10
No,
years.
10 terms. 10 terms.
18 years.
18,
Sorry.
9 terms.
Sorry.
9 terms.
Let
9
me
terms.
take it back. Okay.
9 2-year terms.
Nine,
18
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
He's been in
Yeah.
office
Well-
working hard on our behalf. We thank you. And we
Thank
want
you.
our listeners to go and support you. So,
Yes, thank
So,
you. I appreciate
you know,
that.
voting.
But before you go, Kevin, I just want to make sure, Senator Parker, that you know that you are my endorsed candidate for state senate, and
Thank you.
because of the work that you have already done, and also to let our listeners out there know that if you call upon your office, you are going to get an answer, right? I always tell people you might not get the answer that you're looking for, but you're going to get one, and
Yes.
you're not going to tell somebody that you're going to do something that you're not going to be able to do. But if you can do it, you're going to be moving all stones to do that, and that's why I
Absolutely.
endorse you for office, and hope that other people will endorse you as well by getting you their votes come this week through early voting, and next week Tuesday
Yes.
when it's general voting.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
and you also have one of our other listeners. We have a couple listeners who said that you are their candidate as well. So Pastor Busby has also endorsed you.
Thank you, Pastor.
So thank you so much.
I
God bless.
appreciate it.
Can you repeat, wait, before you leave, can you repeat where people can go if they do not know where to their voting?
Right. Yeah, so they can go to www.nyvotes. I'm sorry. www.ny. Sorry, I apologize. www.votenyc.gov. That's votenyc.gov. And they can also go to my website for my campaign, Kevin Parker, the number 4 Senate. That's Kevin Parker, the number 4 Senate. But you can also call my government office. We can certainly help you with that. That's not a campaign function per se. So, voting is a governmental action. And so you can call my office at 718-629-6401. Again, that's 718-629-6401. We can't talk to you about the campaign there, but we certainly can direct you to where your voting site, where your polling place is. And people should know that my government office is at 3021 Tilden Avenue. Again, that's 3021 Tilden Avenue at the corner of Tilden Avenue and East 31st Street off of Nostrand Avenue.
Hey, yeah, thank you very much, Senator. Hey, villagers, get out there and vote for a good brother who has a track record of doing things in our community, and we especially during this period of time, we need someone who can not only get those resources, but make sure that there is legislation that gives us an opportunity to take advantage of those different contracts in the city and the states. So we really need somebody who knows that. You know, we don't need somebody who doesn't. It's going to take him time to get to that level, but he's at that level. The brother's on the verge of some serious leadership positions. So let's continue to support him.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, everybody Tuesday, by Tuesday, get up and vote.
Exactly.
All
Thank
right.
you, folks. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you
you,
to the
brother.
village.
Thank you, sir.
All right, y'all take care.
Thank you.
All right, peace.
You know, John and Joanne, yo, it is hot down here, man. It's hot down there, but it seems like it's hotter in New York right now.
Where are you, Roger?
I'm in Orlando, actually. I'm in Orlando.
Oh, villagers again. Our distinguished co-host is vacationing.
I'm
Again.
actually Cooper and Grayson. Come here.
Man.
Let me just say, if they come, it's about the family. Oh wow.
Well, you got a domino tournament going on? Is that what it is?
No, family trip. Sorry, Venice.
That's what
I
said,
apologize.
same
We didn't see your question regarding the woman's right. But he like he said, he was endorsed by the Planned Parenthood, which is about women and their right. So therefore, you know, if he's supported by Planned Parenthood, he's a very strong advocate for women's right.
Right.
Right. So, I was just showing you. Come here, kids. Come here. Except for Cooper, Grayson is not showing any shirt, but so you have your first 2 days of vacation. Are you enjoying yourself at least?
Yeah.
Say hi to the villagers.
Hello.
All right. So Cooper, you want to say hi to the villagers? Cooper, let me tell you something. This boy has this phone that he does not put down. But Andre, put up the single parenthood hood piece.
I'm in the brace plug-in.
Just say hi. Say hi, everyone. Go ahead.
Hi.
Yeah. Right. So just to let you know that our program is brought to you by the Single Parent University, open admissions, roll-in admissions, open and roll-in admissions, personal development, mindful parenting support seminar, and you know, if you come out, you get free sessions on childcare, transportation, social support hub, resume and cover letter writing, career exploration, and legal assistance. They're there to help you whatever way you can as a single parent. So call 646-779-6767. You know, and you can text SPU to 71441. Again, that's 71441. Just text them and find out information. John and Joe, Bob brought a lot of enlightenment on what's going on with Trump.
I did, my friend.
You know, and great guests, you know, and find out what's going on. Right? Yeah, Carlin. I'm trying to enjoy myself. I'm actually staying at one of the resorts down here, which is pretty cool.
So you know what?
I'm going to Legoland. I'm taking the kids to Legoland.
Have fun with that. If any of our listeners have questions in regards to extra questions that you want addressed based on the information that you received today, please do not hesitate to email us or send us information on the YouTube or whatever, and we'll try to send it out to Mr. Bob and get that information back to you. Hopefully you enjoy the education that you received from our former FBI agent. Hopefully you also enjoy the information that you received from your state senator today to go out and vote, and why it's important for you to stay on top and not
That's
just
right.
look at the media. Do your education and your research. Yes, sir.
Before we go, two things. Condolences. You know, Anne Heck, we didn't get a chance to talk about donation, body donation, but you know, we lost an actress this week. We lost a few people, but she was highlighted because she was also a donor. I also want to make sure I said a speedy recovery to my friend and my domino partner, Pepsi. Leonard, you know, wishing you speedy recovery and happy belated birthday to my sister. Her birthday was actually last week Thursday, and I didn't say happy birthday to her, so you know I'm in the doghouse. And to my favorite cousin, Rose, her birthday is on Saturday, August 20th. And my favorite cousin, I don't want, I'm getting myself in trouble, but to my cousin Tamika, you know where you stand.
Yes,
Right.
happy birthday to everyone who
Happy
is
birthday.
celebrating this month. Make
I
it
know,
easier
I know what I'm saying.
This
And
month.
Melissa Morgan, happy birthday to you too. God bless and great up. All right.
for everyone. Be safe out
Be
there.
safe and God bless.
And I
Yes.
will, Brandon. I will check
Don't
out.
forget to vote.
Early
God
voting
bless you
is
too.
Early
on
voting.
Sunday.
It's on Sunday, and election day is next Tuesday, the 23rd.
All right.
Villagers, have a good evening. Roger, out.
God bless.
Bless.
Bye.